It's time for the show about the people and the places of the Carolinas with the occasional visitors. In addition to hosting the award-winning syndicated TV show Life in the Carolinas, Carl White writes a weekly syndicated column and now hosts this weekly show, the Life in the Carolinas podcast. Now you can hear the story about the stories. And now, here's your host, Carl White.
Caleb, it's great to see you, buddy.
Yeah, buddy, I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad you called when you did. I wouldn't have made it on time.
I know. This is a busy season for you.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah,
they should write a song about that.
You're right.
But it really is. It's a time of year when
make a movie.
Oh,
they can make a movie about that.
There you go. But I love that that we get to be a part of making that magic happen. And now that we've got kids of our own, being able to experience that and see their eyes light up with that wonder and joy and excitement is awesome. But it's great to be able to love what you do and do what you're passionate about.
Yeah, I think that's pretty special. I love this time of the year. I love the fact that we're able to create stories by really capturing the stories of other people. I don't know that it's possible to, create Christmas because it's already there. It lives in the hearts and minds of people. That's what's so wonderful about it.
Yes.
It's already there. We just need to take a moment and jiggle it just a little bit, just a story, a memory. I love the memories. I absolutely love the Christmas memories. Talking with people, what's your favorite memory? Some of them are, they talk about their first gift, their first bicycle, but then some people talk about the magic family and how wonderful that is.
Oh, yeah.
So what are your favorite Christmas memories? Caleb's.
So I grew up in Hudson, North Carolina, and all of my family was just within a few minutes of each other. My aunt lived on the other side of the hill that our family's house was on. My mom's parents lived through the woods. My dad's mom and dad were just 3 minutes down the street, and so getting to spend so much time with them throughout the year, but especially during the holidays, was always so special, and is something that's definitely impacted our traditions now as we're creating traditions, and then even in our vocation and our work as sort of the magic makers that we are. There were so many times where I look back to when I was maybe 4 years old in my mama's living room, and rather than going to daycare, I would just go over to Mama and Papa's house, which is great because she would always spoil me.
It's great for a lot of reasons. Number one, it authenticates the fact that you were born in Hudson, North Carolina, because you said Mama.
Yeah,
so
Mama and Papa. Oh yeah, buddy.
Love that.
I would at Mama's house, I had taken like a footstool and turned it upside down where the legs were pointing up, and I put on some of Papa's old rain galoshes, and she was always sewing, so I'd gotten some like fleece batting, and I'd made a beard and a Santa hat and set up these little gold reindeer that were on her on the fireplace mantle, and I was pretending to be Santa Claus. And there's a picture where she had walked in and seen me in the living room being like, on Dasher, on Dancer, on Friends. And so that photo is something that's in my house now, which a lot of our work is with Santa and the magic of Christmas now. But you look back to those roots and you're like, that's all, that's from those days, or that's sort of
those seeds were planted, right?
Yeah, buddy. But boy, just gathering around the table with people that you love and opening up presents, and you can smell it, and if you close your eyes, you can hear those sounds, and that's stuff that you keep in your heart all the way through the year, but especially this time of year.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, I really appreciate the fact that we've had the opportunity to work some in the past with you being a guest on the show, now being a part of the show. That's extra special. And I'm very mindful of the fact that this time of the year is really busy for you.
I mean, it's rare for me to look like this on one of these days. Usually I'm in some kind of garb and get up or something.
That's right. You transform.
Yes, which is really cool. It's really cool.
It's an amazing transformation because I've gotten to know some of your other characters, but this time of the year you pull it off in a really great way.
Well, it helps that my wife Katie, her background's in costume design and wig and makeup, and so when that transformation happens for these characters that I get to play, boy, there's nobody better to be by my side to help make it happen. And so when you look at me, this 30-year-old slick shaved, bald dude dressing up like Santa Claus.
Right.
It almost sounds goofy until you see a picture of it and you're like, wow, that's almost hard to believe.
That's a transformation.
That is you. Yeah, but it is a transformation. And what I love so much about it is the opportunity to connect with and engage with these kids that have waited all year long for this opportunity to see the big guy in red and to be a part of making that so special and so magical in a way that doesn't just make their Christmas very memorable, but it's something that their family can cherish for years down the road.
I've been spending time with Santa and doing Stories of Santa for many years now. And one thing I have witnessed is when the children, when they come alive, I notice that often their parents do as well.
Absolutely. You see that mom and dad in the corner that are frazzled with getting this Christmas outfit slathered onto this kid, and you're going to smile and you're going to sit on his lap and you're going to take a good picture and we're going to wait in line for an hour and a half and we finally get there. And then that slow moment happens where they put their hand in mine and we look in each other's eyes and I say, how have you been? And I'm so excited to see you. And the wares and worries of the day and what's going on in the news and that line that we were just in and the argument that we were having in the car ride on the way here, that stuff melts away. And for a moment, you see in that mom or that dad or the family members that they're with, you see that same magic spark and ignite in them where they rediscover that childlike wonder, that magic of like that kid looking to the sky and seeing snowfall, of being able to sit on Santa's lap and tell him what you want for Christmas, that wonder of reindeer flying and,
just that happiness.
What's going to happen that Christmas morning. The excitement and the happiness of it is electrifying. That's better than any paycheck.
So when we think about that, when we think about what it does for the child, but then also what it does for the parent, and literally transform. I've seen just hundreds of people. I've stood in line and watched just as people would come by with their children to visit with Santa. And to see that transformation, it has to make that ride home incredible.
Oh, yeah. And I think for everyone involved, so for that family, that we just had this extremely magical experience that they're going to remember for years to come. But it also, for my ride home too, is so fulfilling. I'll think back through those great stories from that day, and I've recently started writing them, and some I'll post on social media for my friends to be able to enjoy or laugh in, or maybe tugs on the heartstrings a little bit, and I want to share it with them as well, because I think so many great stories come from this time of year when we've got that sense of wonder and that childlike innocence and joy inside of us, or reignited and rekindled inside of all of us. And there's so many times when you'll see a family leave, and even like a dad will wipe a tear off of his cheek or come up and shake my hand and just say, I just want to say thank you so much for making this special for my boy or for our family. Like those are the moments that really stick with you in a big way.
What happens, Caleb, when we lose that? I mean, there's obviously for the change to be so public, for it to be a visceral type of an experience. Well, what is it how did we let that go? What gets in the way of that, of having it for that moment, and then, I mean, and feeling incredibly good. I mean, it's just such a release. I've heard people call it that. It was just a release emotionally. How do we let that go since it's so powerful?
I think somewhere along the way, we forget. And this is something that I see a lot in our work that we do as an interactive and immersive theater company throughout the year, putting on big events and shows where, and this is a huge part of our mission, that you're not just watching a show, but you find yourself a part of it or inside of it, where the world and the story unfolds, 360 degrees around you. Some of our products, we even have, members of the audience up alongside of us, acting out the story or grabbing the steering wheel to influence, like what could happen next on this treasure hunt, or as we fly to Neverland, or whatever it may be. That you see it come back a little bit in there, where, like right now, my boys, Charlie's 4, Levi's 5, about to turn 6. And right now, it's so accessible for them. I was cleaning out my garage this past week, and as we are a make-believe cardboard box family owned and operated company, we've got a pretty interesting garage. And so as Levi was helping me, he had pulled out 2 fencing foils from our garage, and he had run up to me with one, and he was like, "Here, let's sword fight." And I said, "Okay." So I took it, and being the make-believe guy that I am, I was like, "I'm a big scary pirate, and you're going down, and who are you?" And he said, "I am Peter Pan." And it's without even a moment, it was so easy for him to imagine like those circumstances in that world, and to make believe and play pretend and feel that joy and wonder. And along the way, we forget how to do it. We find ourselves busied with our email inbox and with deadlines and with bills that we've got to pay, and just the realities of a really hard, messy, complicated world to navigate as grown-ups. I even find myself wrestling with this. And in this work that we do, where we're like, hey, for the next 90 minutes, we're only going to play pretend and use our imaginations. So we're going to suspend our disbelief and go on an adventure somewhere. You feel in the first couple of minutes that like, whoa, this is unusual for me. And then by the end, they're active participants. And so I feel like a huge part of what we do, and a responsibility that I have as a person that creates those experiences, is to reignite and rekindle that joy and wonder and imagination inside of the hearts of those people.
So is your objective, Caleb, not just for the younger people in the audience, but for the family as well? Everyone that's in the audience.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And so whether it's inside of a Santa experience where where I might be with a 6-year-old on my lap or sitting beside me, I'll stop and pause and talk to everybody in the room at some point and engage. I believe in like hand holding and connecting with people and hugging them, telling them that I love them. And so whether it's grandma that's in pushing the stroller with the 2 kids or whatever it may be, or if it's in a show that's in a like a 1,000-seat auditorium, I want to make sure that everybody leaves going, wow, there was something for me there that was really fun. So a lot of our work that we do, especially during this time of year when I may not be Santa Claus, I may be like that green scary guy that hates Christmas and is coming to steal it. We want to make sure that in everything we do, that there's something for everyone to enjoy. It's multi-generational, where they can come together as a family and experience something and enjoy it and have a memory to take away together. But it's not just for their kids, it's for their whole family to experience. That's very important.
I love that aspect of sharing stories. And one thing I think that I remember the most about our conversations, and it started some years ago, was on your visits to the hospital. And you shared with me one story of where you were in the elevator. You'd already worked. You're in the elevator, and a doctor got in. And are you leaving now? Because he had a patient that he felt a visit from you at that time might be good.
Right.
Talk about how those experiences on something so real, and it can go either way, right? Mm-hmm. So talk about those memories and some of those special moments for you, and how you've seen it be beneficial for others, but it's affected you also. You walked away and been like, wow.
It's life-changing work. It's like those are the moments where you leave that elevator ride or that visit at the hospital and you're like, wow, this has done something to me as a person too. When I was going to school for this, I only wanted to be an actor and go get a job at a theater company somewhere and work in a repertory company throughout the year and do Shakespeare and contemporary work and whatever, sing and dance in the musicals. And I quickly realized, and this is just because in a divinely orchestrated way, I had these mentors come through my life that I intersected with that helped show me that theater can be so many different things, and it can include putting on a red nose and a lab coat and heading into a children's hospital for the afternoon and sitting alongside a kid and finding trouble and shenanigans and silly opportunities to engage, and for a second let them feel not like a patient but like a kid again. And then what a gift that is for their parents to see their child actually like for the first time in 6 weeks, crack a smile a little bit or even giggle a little bit at something. And it's scientifically proven that joy and that excitement releases things inside of our body that is actually healing and good for us. And so it's I also feel that huge responsibility of how can we use these gifts that we've been given, my wife and I, and the people that we bring around our campfire and are a part of our team. How can we use these gifts that we have to really do something in a bigger way? So dressing up like a clown doctor or gluing on this Santa beard or slathering myself in green makeup or the Cat in the Hat or any of these like 100 different things I might dress up like throughout the year. That's just a vehicle to do one thing, and it's just to connect with people and have a moment where we feel a little joy or wonder, or maybe it sparks we learn how to use our imagination again or play make-believe, and it's good for me too. And that's something that has not become numb for me yet. It's something that I don't take for granted yet. I still feel very palpably every time we do it. And so before our gigs at like a downtown street festival or anything like that, I always tell my crew for the day, it's like, hey guys, it's a privilege, it's a gift to be able to come here and spread wonder and make magic today. And so as I think about memories like that, where you're in the elevator with like a real doctor. I'm here dressed like I am not a doctor. For him to say, hey, there is a need up on the 3rd floor that I think could be really beneficial if you'd be willing to stick around for just a little bit. That's the easiest yes ever for me. But those moments where you can travel inside of a hospital room and engage with a kid for a little bit, or bring a smile to a nurse, or see someone in the street, like those are great things. I've got so many of those, this is coming back to Christmas time, but I've got so many of those, what I call stories from the big chair, that don't happen in the big chair inside of that usual Santa meet and greet. It might be before I'm getting ready to take the stage at a tree lighting, and like a grandmother comes around the side of the stage and is just like, Santa, I just wanted to, and she's like, I'm at the end of my rope, but I just wanted to ask you for a job this Christmas or some hope, or can you please help bring my family back together? And these are people say things to me as Santa Claus that I think that they would never say to another person. And I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's a God thing, but I think that the opportunity for me to just be a vessel to connect with people, especially during this time of year when we think about the magic of the holidays. It's wonderful. It's happy. It's shiny. It's magnificent. Like, look at all these decorations in Walmart and Hobby Lobby, and our downtown looks fantastic, and we get to ask Santa what we want for Christmas. It's a hard time for people, and there are so many people that are heartbroken and distraught and grieving. The holidays are also a difficult time.
Do you think that's why it's even more important that we lean heavily into the celebration of the season? I know there's different aspects of the season. There's the commercial side, the gift giving. There's a religious side. There's all these different things. But in all of those things, it's the joy that makes the magic happen.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of what angle you're coming from it at. And that's why the grandmother would come up to the side, because it is this idea, that just maybe just the thoughts of things being better can help make things better, right?
Oh, I believe in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
just that thought. So the good thoughts, the good energy, we think about all the movies from the past, during this time of the year, I have to get myself in the mood. I obviously, after doing, will be our 14th Christmas show.
Wow.
14th season of doing a Christmas show. Actually, our 15th year, but our 15th season of doing shows, Christmas shows. When I begin to think about Christmas, it's usually July, because we're creating things. And I'll see people that'll post, they'll start seeing decorations out or at the stores, or people saying, Merry Christmas in July. I say, way too early. And I think that way too early is tied up and wrapped up in a mindset of how complicated and how expensive it can be
Sure.
if that's what you lean into.
Right.
So if Christmas is only a time of giving gifts and being okay with the fact you may not get anything, but you're the parents, and it's just looked at as a money out and not a love in, then it can be difficult. But quite honestly, I think Merry Christmas Every Day is a wonderful thing for that magical part of the season because it brings out the best of us.
Isn't that the best line? It's right in the end of A Christmas Carol where Scrooge has, through this extreme journey of visiting his past, present, and future, that it's probably time for his heart to warm up a little bit.
Yes.
And then near the very end of the novella, it talks about how Scrooge was great and upheld everything that he said that he would do, but the best thing that could be said about him was that he kept it in his heart through the entire year.
Yes.
And I think that should, and this is in the writing too, that wouldn't we hope and wish that the same could be said for each of us? And so how do we in some way keep that openness and joy and wonder of the season inside of our heart throughout the year? And it is amazing to me how during these days, and I believe this to be true, let me know what you think, but doesn't it seem like, and we see, this is vastly in contrast to the Black Friday, this fight broke out, someone shot someone at Kmart, the people are stampeding over each other at Best Buy, but isn't it a time of year when we feel like, in general, people are a little kinder to each other?
I think so, because there's that kindness is free.
Right.
I think at lunch today we talked about kindness. What was it? What was the two comparisons you used? You can be kind,
or you can be nice.
Or you can be nice.
Yeah, and the difference there would be like for example, someone that's nice would say, hey, just so you know, you've got some food in your teeth or something like that. And then that would be someone that's kind that says something like that. And in contrast to someone that's nice and would not say, hey, you've got food in your teeth, because they wouldn't want to embarrass you.
Right.
But that kind person's like, hey, I'm looking out for you here. Just say that way,
Right. And if you're extra kind, you're actually taking the napkin.
And you're like, here, just be still.
You got to be pretty close to do that. But that's exactly right. That notion of actually serving without, I don't expect anything out of it. This time of the year, we always look for great stories. We're always looking for someone else's memories, their stories. And most of the best ones do involve some sense of memory and how that something long ago planted something within them or ignited within them.
Yeah.
And it stayed alive all this time. And a lot of people let it sneak out 12 months out of the year. But some people, it only comes out for a couple of months.
Yeah.
But it's huge. It's big. It's like the big part. I grew up in a family. My mother we loved Christmas. That's why people say, why do you like Christmas so much?
It's in your bloodstream.
I said, look, that's my mom. And if you got anything to say about that, you and I have a problem, buddy. So I can't say anymore that I don't pay attention to the Scrooges because I know the end of the story.
Right.
I have a painting Charlie Fry painted, and I have it, and it's Scrooge, and I come to realize, when you get closer to the end than the beginning, you think differently about life. And I've interviewed a lot of people who are 100 and above, and the attitudes of life there are a little bit different.
Sure.
You're not worried about a whole lot. Most of the people that I've interviewed at that age, they're kind people. They're gentle people in a reflective way. Maybe they were really tough earlier, but as time goes on, they mellow. And I hear things over and over about, you got to let this stuff go. The only thing that matters are people. And when you're talking to someone who's 100 years old and, they said, well, I've outlived just about everybody. My kids are dead. And you start thinking, well, how terrible. And then you realize, well, they're 100, so their kids would probably die if they lived to 80.
Right.
So they're still going. But when you hear these stories about people who have spanned 100 years, wow, just the perspective is so different. But when you've lived through so much and you're still living and still smiling and still happy, you've got a few things to share.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the biggest things that I hear from people is just love and compassion and giving. However you imagine that being, it involves being helpful to other people, putting other people before yourself. There are very few narcissists that would probably end up on the really good list, But there's hope,
There's hope, right?
I mean, it was at the end, but there's hope because it's that love and caring for other people that just makes you so happy inside. And that shouldn't be relegated to just 1 or 2 months out of the year. Right. So I feel particularly excited about it. When it wasn't long after we met, we began to talk more, and I began to learn more about you, and we did a few things together, and with the show, and I realized, well, wait a minute. Then I met your wife, Katie. And I think I first met her at Kings Mountain backstage. And I was like, wow, she's talented. And then I don't know 3 or 4 years ago, I called both of you. I needed help as a producer and the makeup and everything for a historic reenactment.
Oh, how fun was that? That was great.
Oh my gosh! And I said, we got to James Madison needs, somebody stole his wig. So we got to have a wig, and it's got to be period spot on. And I remember calling you, and obviously you on a side from the wig thing, you have no hair that's present, which means you can have any hair you want.
Oh yeah,
so
you get to pick.
You want you want Blackbeard, you want Sam. Who do you want? I can do it.
Got it.
So, but the thing that was great was your wife, and our Madison was very persnickety about that. It had to be a certain way, and I never will forget. You sourced the right thing, but it still had to be styled, and that was done. And when that wig was put on him, on location, I mean, we're there, so it's like, oh, we don't have a redo.
Yeah.
It's got to be right.
There's no backup plan here.
I mean, cameras are rolling, in an hour. So it was great. To this day, he talks about that experience.
How cool. That's so cool.
He said it was the best wig that he had. And he had a wig that he paid a lot more for, and all that type of thing. But this fit the moment, and he's still talking about it. Yeah. So the spirit of Christmas, which we could call it something else, the spirit of goodwill, 12 months out of the year, and we just shine it up and put lights out during, the last quarter.
That's right.
I don't adhere to the notion that it has to be, only for a few days before the 25th. But if that's your thing, that's fine. I don't care what people do from that tradition as long as that feeling is there. Mm-hmm. Why can't we have more of that year round, Caleb? And this is such a hard time of the year for so many people, and from a mental standpoint, suicides at an all-time high rate. I mean, it's during that specific time of the year.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, with all this goodness that's floating around, right, for all of us to enjoy, and then we have this really, so maybe we have to double down. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, I feel like we do, and so many people, whether I also do magic shows.
Oh,
and
yeah,
all kinds.
That's right.
In all of the different hats that I wear, I find so many times that people say that, and it's easy to subscribe to that notion that magic isn't real and doesn't exist. We think about these magical fairy tale endings, but it so does. And that magic, like true magic, lives inside of each of us. Like when a child's smile, or when someone rolls their neighbor's trash can to the driveway for them, or you say hey to somebody on a day when they just needed someone to reach out and engage with them more than you probably ever would have known. Like that's real magic. And I think that that's the same for Santa Claus. I think Santa is very real. And while I get to pretend and portray him during Christmas time, that jovial, benevolent, giving spirit, he's very alive inside of each of us. I think about, so my dad has a lot of different things that he does inside of our family business. So my grandpa started this clothing business called Sigmon's Fashions, which is still in Hudson to this day. But Dad, now running it, also has some rental properties and some storage units and some. He's kind of like me. He's like loves all of these different spinning plates. And I remember as a kid, this is so kind of moving for me. I've kind of forgotten about this a little bit, but there was one Christmas where we had something that we were going to do for us as a family. This was like this might have even been Christmas Eve night or the night before that we were going to do. And Dad kind of came in from work and interrupted our plans and was like, we're going to go to Walmart and we got to pick up some things and drop them off. And so we went to Walmart and we were shopping for some toys and some clothes and scarves and shoes. And we ended up going by one of his rental properties for a family that he knew was not going to be able to have Christmas for their kids. And we dropped off presents on their doorstep for them for Christmas time. That was my dad doing that. And looking back now, it's like, that's Santa Claus. You know, that's that real magic of the season. And I feel like that's inside of me, that he's given to me. It's inside of all of us that we can do, and it doesn't mean going to Walmart and spending a couple $100s on people that you don't know, but what can we do that's free and kind, that's just from the goodness of our hearts, that can make this time of year a little more special? Or
I would imagine, Caleb, if you hadn't been with him, you would never have known about that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. And I'm sure that there are times where him or even, other members of my family have done things like that I didn't know. And that's really one of the best ways to give is in silence.
That's right.
But to include your family, or especially like now looking at my boys, it's like, how do I pass things on to them that they are very carefully watching everything that we say and do, and it comes out and we hear about it in the most unlikely of times. But it's like they're watching.
No, this is clone time.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it. Those early years are the most formative years.
Yeah.
And so whatever you're doing, they're going to be doing it as well.
Yeah, you better believe it. So, I love the musical Into the Woods, and there's this whole song that's called Children Will Listen. It's like, careful of the things you do, children will listen. Careful of the things you say or do, that they'll see and they'll hear. And it's so true though. And so now Katie and I both think about like, what do we do, or what can we do that we can include the boys on, where they can see and learn and do that stuff, and I'm proud of them. They're kind and empathetic and compassionate little dudes. And so to see that growing inside of them is like, oh wow, good. They can learn math and history and about our world and science.
And you can grow old and not worry about them not being kind to you when you're an old man.
Maybe right? I'm just playing the long game, invested in the future. But by God, like they'll be good people. And that
makes all the difference.
That's a blessing. And
there are so many people like that. I have a lot of friends who are Rotarians. And they do all types of great projects. There's a couple of projects right now that I know one group has done for over 25 years. And I said, that'd make a great story. So I called a couple of the guys. I said, I'd like to do a story about that. And, they were a little standoffish on that one. There are other things we've done, but they're like, this one's a little different. We don't want any publicity for this. We don't want people knowing about this, not because because it involves kids in difficult situations, and like this is a very it's not private. It didn't say it was private, but it was a very intimate type of a thing, and they just wanted to help people in a difficult situation. So that would be okay. And you put that on the shelf. Say, that's nice to have that one thing that I know about this group on the shelf. But Caleb, they have thing after thing like that. They have these public things that everybody knows about. But then you got all these good people doing good things. And they've been doing it for, 20, 30, 40 years. And they're not doing it for what they can get. They're doing it out of service, and they're not doing it to be praised, or that's not the purpose. So that's where the magic is, I think, is we just do these things to help others, to be beneficial, and just be the best. I love this expression, if we live it out to the fullest, this idea of living your best life.
Mm-hmm.
I love that because I believe our best life is in being kind to others and giving to others.
Yeah, boy. Wow.
Because we cannot escape I don't know, it's like it's hidden. It's like the man behind the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz.
Sure.
Somebody's making sure that, not such bad, nice things happen to us too. Yeah. But you don't have to keep score. That's the beauty of it. Can you imagine Santa keeping score?
We'd be in trouble.
Well, you do have a list, though.
We'd be, and checking it twice, right?
There is a list, though, so I guess Santa does have that. But I think you probably have to be pretty bad to be put on it and not be able to get off, right?
Yeah, amen.
Yeah,
I believe in that. But boy, the chance to do something that is kind, it's and this is inspiring to me too, and because I feel like there are always opportunities to be more kind, and that we all, including myself, should be reminded that it never costs anything to just do something that's kind, but it's that ripple effect, it's like how can one act of kindness, of just something simple and kind, create ripples that spread like a wildfire. That's something.
It's contagious. It's contagious.
It is.
I saw a social post my niece made a few days ago, and she was specific. This was the specific ask.
Okay.
She said, "Who knows great organizations that need volunteers for the holiday season.
Gotcha.
Who are they? What do they need? That type of thing." Because, she's got her daughter, they got, the other kids, and they want to do this. Mm-hmm. They want to be of service. They want to be kind to other people. And not only, of course she could do a lot of research, but she's publicly doing that. And I thought about, I said, "Oh, that's cool. That's really good." So I'm feeling like that if other people read that, and I saw where people had sent her names of different organizations, but then how many other thoughts would be sparked by other people reading that?
What can I do?
I wonder, maybe I should do that too.
Boy, that's powerful stuff, isn't it?
It's that whole idea. I think of all things, everything is contagious, but I think that spirit of hope and happiness and gratitude is far more contagious than anything else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Wow. And who knows who will see that post and what could come from it.
Yeah, it's just a little thing. It's like, who knows, that child that's on Santa's lap, and they hear the story, and then mom and dad has a tear. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen when they are the family that walks out and they carry that happiness with them as they go, and it doesn't disappear when they get in the traffic. It stays, and their life changes because of that.
Yeah, there was a story that I had shared. This has been a good number of years ago. That this was before TikTok or Instagram, where things on in a daily way go viral, where one of my stories from the big chair had sort of exploded, and it dealt with this family that was grieving through a specific situation, and I had gotten flooded with messages from people that had either read a portion of it shared by like the Today Show or even People Magazine, or it was on this big Facebook page that has a following, that had messaged me and said, "I just want you to know how much your story meant to us. We too lost our child, or experiencing a similar grief story, and that this was very moving to us." And so to be flooded with all of these messages just from sharing one story by people that had felt some sort of healing or closure, or just that they had felt like their heart was seen, that they had been seen in some way through that, was very moving for me, and eye-opening to realize that that's the importance of sharing these stories, that you never know how they could touch someone's heart in some way. Being in the position that I found myself in has given me the opportunity to be on the front lines of seeing that people are good, and that there is so much good in the world, and kind-hearted people, and people that believe in sharing kindness,
right,
and in the magic of the holidays and every year. So,
and they're not afraid to.
Absolutely.
They're not afraid to.
And boy, that's encouraging for me, and is a great reminder for me that we do live in an amazing place, and the world really is pretty magnificent, and the people in it are so special. So it's a great reminder for me to be able to find, and I might be dressed as Santa Claus inside of that moment, but boy, it's a great privilege for me.
I would imagine, I mean, during this time of the year, it's Christmas, and we're talking about the Man in Red, but I've seen some of your other performances as well, and there's still happiness there. There's a bit of joy there. I mean, when you're Blackbeard, or what, there's this thing that makes people smile. This thing that brings about a sense of not negative energy, right?
Yeah, buddy.
And if it's not negative, then the opportunities for big things to happen are a lot better.
Oh yeah. I feel like there's so much of what we do is storytelling, and through theater, or even a moment as a character engaging with a child or a family. There's a moment for that light to shine through, and for people to have that fun and that joy spark within them as well. So I do feel like there's opportunities regardless of the medium. The mission remains the same, which is go in, play hard, use imagination, spread joy and wonder, and then get the heck out of Dodge. It's like we got to go do it somewhere else too.
That's right. Well, I love that, Caleb. I'm awfully glad that we have decided to work together on projects, and I'm really glad that you are a Christmas person.
Oh boy,
to say the very least.
Yeah, buddy.
So that's exciting, because it gives us a lot of exciting things we can do. You're just so darn busy this time of the year. You're booked heavily, my friend, which is wonderful.
Oh yeah,
because we get to sit together and hear some of these great stories. Yeah. But we've got 8 months out of the year. We'll work on other stories together. But my goodness, I just don't know. I don't know what else could have kept us talking this long about a period. I love our nation. I love the 4th of July. I love our Veterans Day. I love a lot of what we celebrate, but it's very difficult to come close to the heart of what happens during this time of the year.
This past, we recently did a Veterans Day parade for the first time. Veterans Day is not a big day of business for our company, but we recently did a Veterans Day parade, and we had of course, Lady Liberty's statue.
Right. Were you on stilts? Were you on stilts, Uncle Sam?
I'm honored that. Uncle Sam, thank you. I was like, I'm honored. You think I would make a good-looking Lady Liberty, but was out of my league.
Uncle Sam.
No, so me and a few of my friends, we dressed up like Green Army men. Think like Toy Story, like little plastic green army men.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so we were dancing and drumming and high-fiving and having fun inside of the parade, and they were like lighting up and smiling and clapping and cheering, which was cool, but it's nowhere near that level of like extreme, indescribable joy as being on a float as Santa Claus riding through a downtown Christmas parade somewhere in like Kings Mountain or Mooresville or one of these places that we might be at. To be there on that float pulling through the town as like Christmas arrives for this city.
Oh, sure.
It feels like that's probably the most I've ever felt like a rock star in my life. I felt like it feels like a Taylor Swift concert. Everyone's so excited and leaping out of their lawn chairs that it's the most wonderful time of the year. And so to be a part of that and be a part of Christmas magic and
well, you have a lot of communities you're touching this year, and you do every year, of course. You have Kings Mountain. You have some things near Raleigh as well. And
we'll be this year. We'll visit Wake Forest, Mooresville, Monroe. We do a lot with Davidson, city of Charlotte. We're across the Carolinas. We're pretty busy spreading that Christmas cheer around. But something that transcends location and demographics and economic status and development and all of these very measurable things. The thing that is consistent through is that magic, and the joy and wonder level is very real no matter where we're at.
When you're talking to people who may not be your regular crowd to talk to, whether you're talking to a travel and tourism group to book this or to book that, or well, that's a little different because they're all about showing the best picture forward, I suppose. But what happens when you're talking to someone, you're presenting your programming to someone that just doesn't quite see the value of making a big deal for the community about the holiday season, about Christmas?
So I recently had a mayor in a city that we were appearing at. The mayor came and found me at the end of the night, and he grabbed my hand and said, I just wanted to thank you so much for what you do inside of our community. And this is really great and cool and everything. And it's that magic word that we keep coming back to. But this is so magical, and that we, I guess as the municipality, get to provide this to the members of their community makes him feel very proud, but also knowing that what they are doing inside of their city is very unique and special, that's just for them. And so that's a great honor that we have as a company, to be able to come in and be a part of doing something for as a service to that city or town, to do something that doesn't just make magic, but does help them stand out in some way too. So for him to have seen that growth over the years, from going like, I don't know, and like so in that city it went from a one-day event to like a multi-week celebration. Is like we've seen that grow over 6 or 7 years of doing this.
So if in fact the spirit of Christmas is alive and well, having one night of it and then having multiple nights, I would imagine some of the same people coming, but a lot of different people every night, right?
Oh, yeah.
To have that experience.
Yeah.
So instead of, say, 2,000 people, you have 30, 40,000 people who are captivated and who walk away feeling better.
Yeah. It's been so moving for me to have families come in and say, we saw my cousin shared a picture last week of her daughter with you, and so we had to drive to this place for my daughter to meet you as Santa Claus.
Right.
And of course, in character, I'm like, well, I just am Santa Claus. I'm glad that it's good to see you.
Right.
But in the behind the scenes of it, to know that they drove an hour and a half to come, they passed 4 malls and 2 other tree lightings to be there that night to come meet with me, is very humbling and moving. And I don't think it's that I'm doing anything special other than just connecting with these kids and sharing love through my heart with them. And maybe that's what my ministry is. Maybe that's what one of my missions on the earth is. But it's so stirring in my heart to know that I'm a part of it in some way. And that, I think photo albums may be slowly becoming a thing of the past, but to know that I'm on so many people's refrigerators, or that one of our characters in one of our festivals said something that this family talks about every year around the Thanksgiving table or something like that,
it's a nice thing.
It is, and that's why we keep saying yes to the adventure of it, because we know what we're doing is much bigger than ourselves, and I think it's much bigger than the holiday too. I think it's just about what we can do in our work on the earth, which is cool. It makes me sound like I'm more of a humanitarian and more kind-hearted than I probably am, and I should push to it and need to be. But boy, it's that's a cool job description, right?
It's a rather humbling experience when the work that we do and the passion we follow becomes our own teacher at times. It's
Amen.
Because it takes us to different levels. So it's like climbing a mountain. You're in the middle and you can only see so far, but the higher up you go, you can see further.
Yeah.
Until you get to the top, and then you realize you're all by yourself, and you're like, oh. and then you start looking around a little bit, and you see, oh, there's a lot of people at the top, you know. So
Yeah.
there are more people on the same journey, I
yeah.
think, but we certainly see a lot further than we can go. So maybe down here, you know, lower on the mountain, where we're at that 2 months of celebration. The higher we go, it's like, okay, this is my life now.
Yeah.
This is what I do. This is who I am. And my life is to help make people happy.
Yeah, well, I love that we both get to partner in being in the happy business.
Yes,
I say
that's
that a lot
right.
about.
That's
I
right.
say that a lot about like the kind of like the good news stories and business of life in the Carolinas, and is such an easy yes for me to partner with you in. Us going to these magnificent festivals and celebrations and concerts and cities where here in the Carolinas that magic is crackling through the air, and to talk to people that are just happy and having fun.
Caleb, I knew that you would be a success with the show when we were in Western North Carolina at the big agricultural fair.
Oh yeah.
And it was promo time. And you got in that circle with those pigs, and you literally raced with them.
Oh yeah, we had fun. That was good. That was when
I thought that. I said, okay,
Coming up on the next
Caleb,
episode of
yes,
Life in the
that's good.
Carolinas.
he's got what it takes.
He's got, and then so we went from the pig race, and then we've done music festivals.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the North Carolina Mountain State Fair. It's haunted, spooky fun for the entire family.
And we were in Kings Mountain together.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And then the Pickle Festival.
Oh, we had fun. We had a lot of fun.
Mount Olive Pickle Festival. And oh my gosh, I mean, you ate pickles, you rode in pickles, you
It was a lot of pickles for that
they were
day.
pickle they're everything that you could imagine. They had it going on, but my gosh, another one. You know, when I think about Mount Olive and their pickle festival, I think about that commonality of what brought all those people there. It was a pickle and having a good time. You know, this
Yeah.
is just, and it's a tradition for that company. It's not like Santa Claus, but it's still a tradition of people coming together and having a great time.
Oh yeah, I mean it was,
And I love that.
There were so many stories from that day of my uncles worked at the pickle factory for 38
Right.
years, or
Right.
my niece is her dance troops performed here every year, and now her daughter is dancing in the
Yes.
festival this year too. Just to see that stuff is so awesome, and I think that's and this is kind of my cheesy tagline, but I do think that's what makes the Carolinas such a great place to live, is that we get to celebrate just things like that in
I think so.
community.
Yeah, I think so too. And a lot more. And you're going to have to cover the Chitlin Festival in South Carolina. I'm booked that weekend.
Uh-oh. Well, I'll give it a go.
Yeah, all
As
right.
long as I can get a t-shirt.
Yeah, two. Yours and mine.
Okay, good deal. That's a
Great.
deal.
Caleb, thank you so much. It's so good to see you. I'm glad we could squeeze out a little time on this time of the year, because I know it's busy for you.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. But it really is the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
Thanks for listening to the Life in the Carolinas podcast. If you enjoyed your time with us, please visit the show's website at lifeinthecarolinas.com. Join our mailing list, and we'll keep you updated every week on what we have coming up and other interesting things around the Carolinas. We value you as a podcast subscriber. We'll see you next week. And remember what Carl says, it's never a bad time for a good story.